I'd like to welcome you to our Business Builder Speaker Series. My name is Doug Dean. I'm the owner and managing partner of Schaefritz and Dean. And our Business Builder Speaker Series was an idea that came out of the COVID days when we couldn't get together. And we said, let's get together virtually. So the third Wednesday every month for an hour on Zoom, we bring a speaker on a topic that we think is important to you, the real estate agent community. We know that you're busy and we appreciate you giving us your time. And to make the most of your time, we encourage you to ask questions and participate utilizing the chat box. Mark your calendar for next month, the third Wednesday in August, August 16th at 1 o'clock. We'll have Joshua Bellows from Pure Maintenance of Georgia on what real estate agents should know about mold and mold remediation. So join us next August 16th at 1 o'clock for that topic. For today, I'd like to introduce Lisa Ward with Premier Design and Remodel on Design to Sell, making the right updates to help owners sell faster and for more money. Lisa, thanks for joining us today, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Doug, and thanks to Schaefritz and Dean for having me back. I am going to share my screen. There we go. I just want to kind of warn everyone that if you are logged on just to kind of listen on your earphones, my entire presentation is a slideshow, and there are lots of before and after pictures of work that we do for sellers' houses. So it'd probably be a little more fun if you're actually looking at your screen as opposed to just listening to me talk. But anyway, again, thank you, Doug and Schaefritz and Dean, for having me on here.
It's our pleasure, and thank you for being our guest.
Okay, I guess I'll just go ahead and get started and tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the owner of Premier Design and Remodel. My husband, Ryan, is the broker for Premier Atlanta Real Estate, and they have a really great relationship with Doug at Schaefritz and Dean. And so I actually started my business about 4 or 5 years ago, when we were really seeing that a lot of homeowners were, or my husband and his brokerage, he has about 20 agents that work for him. They were kind of seeing that a lot of homeowners who wanted to list their properties were always talking about, I really know I need to do this to get the property updated. I need to paint, I need to, put in new carpet. And then the agents would show up at the photo shoot and see that they had done these things, but they were maybe in awe of the fact that, if I would have known you were putting brown carpet in and painting the walls gray, I might have told you not to do that. So I am a full service designer. I do everything from, just anybody who wants me to do their kitchen, their bathroom, their whole home or whatever. But primarily, I actually work with sellers to provide them with a solution to this problem, to help them make the right choices, get their house on the market in today's styles and trends for the least amount of money so that they can build the most equity in their home when they sell it. And so I have done countless number of these projects. I don't even know how many I've done. And I have 100% track record of taking that homeowner's investment that they make into the home and usually at least triple or quadrupling it in the sales price reflectively. So I am a licensed real estate agent. I don't sell properties, but I do keep a license so that I can talk to these homeowners, kind of, on the up and up about, their list price and what kind of return they're going to get on the investment when they actually do these renovations on their property to get it ready to go on the market. So what do we do? How do we do this and get them ready? Most homes that go on the market are not updated to today's styles and trends. But what if we could provide a service to sellers to update their homes, and what value do we provide to sellers when offering this service? So basically, you as a real estate agent can go on your listing appointment and you give them your as is list price. Look, I'll list your property. Here's what I think it would list for as is, right? If you don't do anything but your basic clean it up, declutter it, and put it on the market. I can actually send someone in here to do a free consultation with you to fully manage your renovation budget, bring in all the contractors, make all the design choices, and do everything to get this house on the market. And if you do that, here is my suggested list price. 99 times out of 100, that price is significantly higher. And I'm going to give you some examples of how successful we've been in doing this. So what is the project process? How do we make this happen for you guys? Again, you're going to do your as-is list price. I'm going to come up with a renovation budget with your client. So some clients may only have $5,000 or $10,000 that they have readily available to invest in the home. And most of the time when they're making that decision, they're thinking about spending that money on somewhere where we probably won't get the most bang for the buck on it, or they're making choices that actually aren't up to date with today's styles and trends. They're thinking about themselves and their tastes only. You're going to come up with an after renovation list price. I'm going to create a design for this home that I think would fit the market and that home specifically. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to buy everything that it is that these clients need, their light fixtures, their new faucets, their tile for their new backsplash, whatever it is we're doing. I'm going to manage this project completely from start to finish with all of my own contractors who I have partnered with for years, who've done, like I said, countless projects with me, which is actually a super convenient service to most homeowners because that is their #1 complaint when real estate agents are talking to them about doing the updates. I don't know any contractors. I don't know, are they trustworthy? Are they overcharging me? They say they can't get started for another month or two. They didn't show up, those kinds of things. So I already have the partnerships established to make sure that we're getting this stuff done for them. You're going to do some fabulous marketing on the property and the seller's going to make maximum profit. That's the whole process. Usually we do a facelift on the property. I have done full flips, but usually a seller just needs what I call a facelift to maximize the property value at that time. And most of the time, the renovations that I do for them only take about 3 weeks. So once they get started, 3 weeks later, you're ready to take pictures and get their home on the market. This is an example of the actual very first project I ever did. Now, this was like 4 years ago before the crazy sellers market. So these stats that I'm showing you, you're like, that's not that big a deal. But back then it actually was. If you've been a real estate agent for a while, you'll know that usually back before this big surge of a seller's market, on opening weekend, if you got 5 or 10 showings, you were very, very happy. And on this project, we were able to get 30 plus showings on this property with multiple offers. And I know, like, my husband, who's a broker, is like, multiple offers only happens on the best houses, at least, like I said, back 4 or 5 years ago when we got started. And we got lots of offers on this property. This property was just kind of, it really needed some love. And we really went in and put a lot of love into it. And then from this, made the decision to actually form the company to start doing this for real estate agents and their sellers full time. Okay. So how do we make sure that we're successful? Well, it's my job to follow the trends both in design and in the housing market. So I do have a real estate license. I follow all of the styles and trends in design and in the housing market. I've formed relationships with contractors and vendors. I know the expectations for results that you have and that your clients have, your sellers, and I have a proven track record of success. And, what if my client only has like a very small budget? Well, that's where I come in with my experience to make sure that we are spending the money in the right places. One of the biggest mistakes that sellers make is they only have $10,000 and they go in and they refinish all their hardwood floors. And I would have gone in and said, don't refinish these hardwood floors. They're actually fine. We can do what we call a screen and coat on these floors for about a quarter of the price of refinishing it. And I can actually take the rest of that money and put it here where we're actually going to make the house better. And homeowners just don't know the difference there. So I've done projects where the seller only has a $10,000 budget to invest. I've done projects where the seller has a $40,000 budget to invest. All with a minimum of 100% return on investment, but most with a higher return on that investment. So I'm going to go through and give you guys some examples of some real projects that I've done, real stats, real figures on this so that you can see where I've had some happy sellers who've used my services. So this particular house was a Woodstock home, and this seller only had $10,000. And so the real estate agent gave them an as-is list price of $360,000. And once my renovation was complete, it took me about 2 weeks to get this house done. They raised that list price to $390,000. So they increased the list price by $30,000 after we spent only $10,000. Final sales price was $410,000. So after this seller put their $10,000 back in their pocket, they came out with an extra 40 grand just for giving me the house for 2 weeks. So how did I spend that $10,000 on this house? I did a full interior paint. The entire house was painted. We actually painted these kitchen cabinets, and we replaced this microwave. It didn't match the other stainless steel appliances on here. And I did a full master bathroom renovation, all of that for under $10,000. So I just kind of show you a couple of tricks of the trade here. So this is that Woodstock house. If I would have taken this out of date, like I said, I renovated the entire master bathroom, new countertops, new light fixtures, painted the cabinets, new flooring, all of that. So if I would have taken this shower and ripped it out and put new tile in it, it likely would have cost about 5 grand. Instead, I simply reglazed the shower, which cost about $350. And then I added a new frameless shower door, which was $1,000. So the total investment on this shower to make it look absolutely brand new was only $1,350. So these are the types of tricks of the trade that most homeowners don't realize that they can do. That when I come in, I can look at this and say, no, stop right there. You don't need to rip this shower out. This shower looks brand new in today's styles and trends by just spending this little bit of money. This is one of my favorite projects that I've ever done. This is a little ranch in Marietta. This house was all original from 1970, whatever. And she only had a $30,000 budget. The real estate agent was really struggling with this one because it wasn't a floodplain. And they knew that they were going to have a hard time really getting buyers interested in the home, and thought maybe it was just going to be one of those investor specials where you're really getting lowballed on your offer price because of that. So I went in and I took this homeowner's $30,000. The after renovation list price at $375 and a final sales price of $400. So we turned that $30,000 into $75,000 when you talk about the as-is list price versus the sales price. And obviously you can see here that part of that $30,000 on the exterior was a full exterior renovation. We actually had to build a whole new deck from scratch. There was 0 deck on the back of it. It had been demoed. And so I painted this. I took down all the shutters. If you can follow my cursor, you'll see that the whole front entry was blocked by this bush. And so we took that out to make sure that we had some nice curb appeal going on here. We renovated the entire interior as well as the exterior with that $30,000. But I just want to show you the before and after of this kitchen. So a new kitchen, I mean, could have cost $30,000, $40,000. But instead, I simply painted these cabinets and used a luxury vinyl tile on the floor and tore out the wall oven, replaced the cooktop with a range, and added a microwave, which added counter space and open shelving. So in these old houses, though a ranch property is very sought after, the kitchens are galley kitchens. They're very, very, very tiny, very limited counter space. The area in which you have these wall ovens is so small that they don't actually make ovens that we can replace that with. And of course, I had to replace all this avocado appliance stuff that we had in there. So my idea was to go in and completely rip all of this cabinetry out. And so when we put the new countertops in, you see I created all of this counter space, whereas before there was practically 0 counter space around the cooktop for cooking. So we created all this extra counter space, put in the open shelving here in place of all of this cabinetry that we took out. And then a slide-in range, which now accomplishes what both of these were before, and then added the microwave in. And a really whimsical little backsplash that went all the way up to the ceiling, which now makes this property today's styles and trends. The countertop At this budget of this 375 to 400 budget, quartz is not really part of what we would choose to put in there. But to make this a little more upscale, I did a leathered granite, which has no shine whatsoever, which makes it look and feel a little more upscale. And I just want to give you another view here of what this now looked like when we were finished. So again, $30,000, and we did the full house interior and exterior. This one was a crazy wow kind of project. Now I will tell you, this was in the height of the seller's market when you guys were getting 100 showings on a good property. But this home had a $30,000 budget. And the as-is list price was suggested at $550. And this is how we knew, or the agent knew, that this project list price was spot on. There was a twin of this house listed on the market at the exact same time for $550 on the same street. Literally same shape, same condition, same floor plan, listed for $550. It also sold in pretty quickly in time, you know, in opening weekend. But I want to say that $550 house only sold for about $600. So again, houses were flying off the market. It sold for over list price, but it only sold for $600. This house that I put $30,000 into ended up selling for almost $750. So it sold for a considerable amount more than a house that was maybe 10 houses down on the same street in the same condition with the same floor plan. So again, after this homeowner put their $30,000 back in their pocket, their house sold for an additional $168,000 over what the original as-is list price was. So of course, I took that $30,000 and did a full exterior renovation. Following today's styles and trends, this house was 2 summers ago. As the styles change, so do the designs that I do. So even though the past 2 pictures that you've seen, I did a white and gray exterior, probably wouldn't do a white and gray exterior today because the styles are changing. But these 2 houses were put on the market probably within 6 months of each other. But took all the shutters down. If you notice, there are very few new construction houses being built today that actually have shutters. We want to follow those trends and make the house look as updated as possible. And so we did a full exterior on this house. And this was what it looked like actually before. This bush had completely overgrown the house and completely taken up the entire side of the house. So when we were doing the exterior renovation, I had them take this bush out so that the house could look as grand as it really was. So if you go back, you see the house is very grand. When we painted it white, it looked even more grand. If we would have left this bush here, it would not have looked as grand as it did. So when I'm suggesting things to a homeowner, I'm taking all things into consideration. Anytime there is a bush or tree that's overgrowing a house, it's likely causing some kind of critter damage or wood rot. And you can see on the before on that corner that there was wood rot that we discovered after we took that tree down. This is that same house interior. So I don't criticize a homeowner and what they love. If their home sweet home gives them comfort, then that's great. But when we're putting a house on the market, I have to make sure that it appeals to the largest buyer pool. And that sometimes means pulling out things that homeowners have done to their house to make it personal for them. The lady that owned this house, she loved color. This is the rainbow backsplash is what I call this house, rainbow backsplash house. The island was also painted red, like red, red, red. So this house had good bones. We did a full interior paint. I also did a full workup on the master bathroom. But the kitchen here already had new cabinets, and they were great cabinets and great appliances. So we really just needed to do a facelift on this. It had a great black marbly kind of a countertop on it. So all I did was paint that island white so that we could have a contrast between the dark brown cabinets and the island, giving it a kind of a unique feel to it. And then I took this backsplash out, added a more trendy backsplash, made sure to put a bright black grout in there for the contrast to tie in this countertop here. And the house was actually beautiful and amazing when we were done with it. The homeowner wanted to refinish all of these hardwood floors and had budgeted, I don't know, half his budget to refinish these floors. I actually had my hardwood floor guy come in and do what we call a screen and coat, where they actually simply sand down the top coat instead of doing a full sand down through the color. So it takes no color out of the floor. It just takes the top shine coat off, and then you re-put the shine coat on and the floors look brand new. So when we don't really have a need to change the color on the hardwood floors, there's no need to refinish the floors. And most homeowners don't realize that that is even an option. So here's another one. This Lawrenceville home had a $20,000 budget. One of the things that I would like to really highlight about this house is that when we were listing, or when the agent was listing this house, it was last fall. And if you guys kind of can remember what happened last fall, summer was absolutely fabulous, and then fall hit and it just stopped. And you went from getting 30 and 40 showings on opening weekend, and you were lucky if you got 5 or 6, and it just kind of happened. Obviously the market picked back up very quickly, but this house was hitting the market during that stall. And so we knew we had to make this the best house on the market in the area for its price point. So with that $20,000, I did a full interior paint. I put a lot of the money in the master bathroom, but I put most of the money into the kitchen. Now that after renovation list price of $590 is actually the sales price. So you think, oh, it didn't even go over list. No, it didn't. It only had 5 showings on the property. 5, that's it. That's the only amount of buyers that were actually in the market at that time looking for a property of this size and style in this price range. But the good news was 4 out of the 5 people that actually came and looked at this house put an offer in on it. And that's an amazing stat when you're in a market that is pretty slow. That, what's that? That's 80%. 80% of the people that came and looked at this house put offers in on it. And again, after he put his $20,000 back in his pocket, he made an extra $70K. And so basically, my pride and joy here was this kitchen. If you look at the before, there was really nothing wrong with this kitchen. It was an open concept, nice big island, white cabinets, but it was very boring. It was very plain. So we did a full interior paint on this, and I needed to make this kitchen wow. I needed to make it to where you walked into the house, looked in the kitchen, and said, oh my gosh, I gotta have this house. So we took the shiny black countertops off and put a really nice quartz on there. I actually repainted these white cabinets. If you know anything about design and paint color, you know that there are so many different whites out there, each with a different kind of undertone that pulls different colors. If you make the wrong choice on the white and it pulls color around it, it won't work. So I actually repainted these cabinets with what I thought was a better white for the floor color. We have to make sure that we're coordinating with the floor color. And then I painted this island a really fantastic green color. And if you noticed before, there was absolutely no hardware anywhere on here. So I added some really long, elongated champagne bronze hardware and champagne bronze faucet to give it a kind of a luxury look. And then I changed out the backsplash from this kind of boring mini subway tile to a mini hex tile that had a little bit of a shine to it. And it was night and day. When the listing agent was asked by his broker, wow, what a feat that you were able to get top dollar. Actually, this was the highest sale in the neighborhood by far. How were you able to get 4 out of 5 buyers to make an offer on this property? I pat myself on the back because he said, without Lisa, I would have never been able to get even close to this on this property. So this is one of my most proud projects here. Okay, so how can Premier Design and Remodel help you, the real estate agent, right? That's what you're tuning in for, to see, how can I make my services that I offer to my client better by partnering with you? So a higher sales price means a happy client, right? So you want to guarantee them that they're going to get a higher sales price when they do these renovations and make the right choices. Happy client means repeat business and referrals, right? So this client's going to say, oh my gosh, Susie came in. She had a partner that she brought in here, and I made an extra $60,000 on the sale of my house. I wouldn't have done that had she not had this resource to give to me. Higher sales price means higher commissions, right? An updated home sell faster. and I have a record of success that helps you gain more business. And when I say updated homes sell faster, the mentality of a buyer, as you know, even with the whole HGTV surge that has happened over the past decade with Fixer Upper and all of that stuff, 99% of your buyers do not want a fixer upper. They don't want a project. They don't even want to paint. They want a move-in ready house. And they are willing to finance that, because even though they could get a great deal and put a minimal investment in and gain so much equity, most buyers can't wrap their head around what that's going to be, the choices they have to make, the budget that they have to come up with, or the time frame that they have to get this done. And so even though the home is now listed for a much higher price, it's a premium price because it's a premium product now, they're willing to pay that because that just gets financed in their monthly mortgage payment. And so it doesn't seem like they're paying more for the house. It just seems like, okay, I'll pay $100 a month more for a fantastic, beautiful move-in ready house that is already ready for me, and I can share with my friends and family and say, look at my amazing house. I saw this on HGTV just last week. Can you believe I have the same thing? And so how can you, the agent, present Premier Design and Remodel to your clients? So what do you say to get your clients interested in this? Again, updated homes sell faster and for more money. And if I can take their home and they only got to give it to me for about 2 or 3 weeks, it's not really that much of a sacrifice for that much money. Premier Design and Remodel takes care of all of the hassle, 100%. They basically pay me and I do everything else. Everything. And as is list price versus that renovated list price usually speaks for itself. There are not too many investments out there where you can say, hey, hand me $20,000. I'm going to take 3 weeks to spend it. I'm going to market your house. It's going to go under contract in likely 4 or 5 days max. And we're going to be under contract for 30 days. So in about 60 days, I'm going to take that $20,000 and I'm going to turn it into $60,000 or $80,000. There aren't too many things out there that we can all say, yep, I made that investment before and turned that money or quadrupled that money in 60 days. And clients may be surprised at the low cost. Most homeowners, again, don't realize what they can do for their budget. They think, oh, I need $50,000 to renovate this kitchen, when I can renovate kitchens for $10,000 to $15,000 most of the time. And that consultation is absolutely free, and all it takes is about 30 minutes. So I'm going to show you a whole bunch of before and afters. This is the fun part, looking at what happens before and after. Landscaping is always, always, always important. When I pull up to a house, I don't walk in without standing outside for a few minutes and really saying to myself, what do I need? Real estate agents, you know that photography is the main thing that's going to have your buyer call you and say, I want to see this house, or I don't want to see this house. If they flip through the photos and they make it to about photo 5 and it just doesn't look great, they're moving on. And as we know, that front photo or main photo is usually the front of the house. And so it is very important for the house to look really beautiful and amazing and catch their eye immediately. So when I find something like this, which is another example, as I've shown you, this house was the largest house in the neighborhood and didn't even remotely look like the largest house in the neighborhood, because this bush that was planted by the builder had just completely overtaken this entire wing of the house. Think about if you were inside this house and you had these 2 beautiful windows that were completely blocked by this tree. Absolutely no light was being let into the house, and natural light makes a home feel bigger. And so we really needed to eliminate this tree to give this house some curb appeal. Here is probably one of the simplest makeovers I've ever done on a house. This whole project cost like $6,000 or $7,000. Painted the kitchen cabinets, put in a new backsplash and a new countertop, new appliances, new light fixture. Bam, we're done. This backsplash here, I don't like subway tile. I never use subway tile. This actually was a textured and there was some gray veining in it. I like to pride myself on the fact that I don't do, you guys walk in a house and you know when it's a flip. like, when, oh, this is just a flip, if everything was just simple, cheap, whatever. I pride myself on never making a house look like a flip. I've never reused a tile. I've never reused a cabinet color other than a white. Things like, I like to make things really individual so that no one can ever say, oh, yep, I looked at this house a couple months ago, this must be a Premier Design Remodel project. I like to make them individual. This is a kitchen. So these cabinets were, I want to say 1970 or 1980 cabinets. And we just did new cabinet doors. We kept the boxes. So when you don't have to replace the cabinetry, don't. If we can take a $20,000 worth of cabinets or $15,000 worth of cabinets and only spend about $3,500 for doors, let's do that. But again, we had this problem here where it was impossible to replace this oven. And so I did the same thing again. You don't realize that all you have to do is just chop this out here and you've created a lot more counter space. And then because it was a double oven, it created this space for the under counter microwave. Minimal demolition, minimal work here, which created an opportunity for a cool style and trend that is actually very new and popular of the under counter microwave and the open shelving that we could add here. Obviously, we did new floors and new hardware, that kind of stuff, but it actually is very non-invasive to do something like this. This is a one-day demo, and putting in the countertops actually helps create this new look here. This is something I do in every project that I come along where it has the 2 bi-level island or the bi-level bar. You will not walk into a new construction project today that has a bi-level bar or island. It's a thing of the past. And so most homeowners don't realize that they do not have to replace this cabinetry to overcome that. This literally can be chopped down with a saw because this is gone, right? And so then we can basically, by putting the new countertop here and adding the inches into the countertop, do we now create more usable counter space? Think about it. If you have one of these yourself, this counter space up here is virtually non-usable in a kitchen. Most of us stick our bills there or our junks up there. You don't eat there. No one sits there and eats. It's a very small piece of granite or countertop stone. So by doing that, we now convert this house into something that's more open concept and more today's styles and trends. And that is actually it's not that expensive to do if you have the right contractors who know what they're doing. Now, this was a project that was a kitchen facelift. This was in downtown Alpharetta. This was a super cute little ranch house. It had not been touched since the 80s. And we knew that we wanted to get top dollar for the house because it was close to downtown Alpharetta. It could sell for top dollar. So again, same concept applied here. We cut down the bi-level bar. And so by extending this out, adding the 18 to 20 inches onto that, we created more space on the countertop here. We simply painted these cabinets because we didn't have the budget to do new doors. Were these today's style and trends doors? No, they weren't shaker doors, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with them. So we simply painted them, added some new modern hardware. Again, this microwave was up here and the oven was down here. I needed to get rid of all of this. So we put the microwave down here and created all this space. If you look here at this cooktop and then your sink, the only thing you had here was this corner space, which is virtually unusable. It's unusable countertop space. And so we had to add all of this countertop space to make this an actual, kitchen cook friendly area, new floors. And I love to add a really cool backsplash to a kitchen. It really does make a selling wow feature to a project. This is just another view of that project that I showed you before. I just wanted you to be able to see how really amazing this backsplash was this mini hex tile that was textured. If you put all of these concepts together of the champagne bronze, the green, and this, you see how much going from this to this made this kitchen transform from just okay to amazing and exceptional. This is a laundry room. I didn't have to put any money into this laundry room, but we had some extra money in the budget left over. And so I basically painted these cabinets and threw some LVP down. This was like 2 or 3 boxes of LVP that cost about $50 each. And then put some butcher block countertops instead of these old laminate countertops. And it transformed the space into something a little, at least newer and nicer, that was a little more inviting for a buyer. This is one of my favorite projects I've ever done. I will go ahead and wrap myself out. This was not a seller. This was a homeowner who wanted me to do his bathroom, but I could do this for a seller too. So I wanted to showcase this project. This was a bathroom that was just kind of an old layout with a small shower and you know, the built-in tub. And they wanted something newer. On the other side, around the corner here was another vanity. So it had his and her vanities, okay? But we wanted a larger, more modern shower. And so in order to make room for that shower, I had to take out the vanity that was around the corner. So what do we do with this vanity now that only has one sink and I need it to be a his and her vanity? I literally took out this window. And so by taking out this window and taking out this mirror, I created a new concept of your double sink vanity with your individual framed mirrors that are today's styles and trends, sconce lighting, which makes it just extremely more kind of upscale. Here's what we did with the bathtub in this area. They wanted a black and white and gold theme to it. So this is kind of what we did here. And then here's another view again, where we had that vanity over here, and then we had this plain old shower. If you go back, you'll see there was a linen closet here and a linen closet here. We didn't need 2 linen closets. So we took this out, took this out, took this out, and created the largest shower in the history of mankind over here. This shower was huge. As a matter of fact, my shower glass door company made the statement that they've done thousands of shower doors, and this is the biggest one they'd ever done. So, but this is what this client wanted. This is not as expensive as some people think it is. This was a pretty ornate job because of all the towel work. But if we had not done all of this towel work, this would have been a very inexpensive project, even though we demoed all of this. Oh, just one more view of that. This kitchen is my favorite before and after, because if you look at the before and you're trying to list this kitchen for sale, you already know this kitchen is not going to appeal to a lot of buyers. It's just not. It may have appealed to a lot of buyers 20 years ago, but it's not going to appeal to any buyers. We had no budget to refinish these floors. So I knew I had to do something. I had to keep these kind of red floors, but I needed to change this kitchen. Only thing I did in this kitchen was paint the cabinets and change out the backsplash. That's it. If you notice, the sink was amazing. The cooktop was amazing over here. The countertops were an exotic granite. No need for me to take that out and put any quartz in there. An exotic granite is already pretty close to a quartz. And so really the transformation here, we were obviously, because you see the yellow walls, did a full interior paint on this house. So that already helped. But I basically painted these cabinets and put a trendy today's styles and trends backsplash. I really love to contrast the grout and the tile, which gives it a wow factor so that your backsplash doesn't just blend in. It's actually a design feature of the kitchen. And if you were to just look at this before and after, a lot of people are like, no way, that's the same kitchen. But it is, with very minimal money put into it. And this is another example of very minimal money put into this kitchen. This kitchen was dark and dreary. Paint is your best friend. But again, the paint color that you choose has to pull the right undertones from the floor. So all of these kitchens and things that I'm showing you that are painted white, most of them have a different white color. They are not all the same white color. So for this one, I took this dungeony kind of chandelier down and put in can lighting and replaced this backsplash with something a little more modern. And then the kind of wow factor that I did here was I put a black leather quartz on the perimeter cabinets, but I put a black granite on the perimeter cabinets and then put a white quartz on the island. So the kitchen looks really modern with today's styles and trends, like it was actually designed intentionally with minimal investment. Sometimes the cabinets are so nice and expensive that I would never put paint over them, right? These cabinets were very upscale, very luxurious, and so I didn't want to put any paint over them, but everything about this kitchen was really dated. So with new countertops, new elongated hardware, new backsplash, taking this piece of dated kind of frilly wood out and putting some quartz here, changing out these light fixtures that were done back in the late 90s and early 2000s, doesn't matter what bulb you switch out, it's not going to correct the yellow color that's being put out on it, because these globes actually are what makes the light that comes out of them yellow. So it's imperative to replace those light fixtures with something a little more modern. This house was getting a full interior paint, so this bathroom was getting painted anyway, and so it doesn't really need a lot. For a minimum of about $300 something, I was able to replace this vanity. And I just told the painters, hey guys, while you're in there, why don't you paint this frame white? And voila, transformed this bathroom into something that looks really new in today's styles and trends with minimal money. This one, you may say, there wasn't really that much wrong with it in the first place. But if you look closely, this is a gray cabinet with gray and white tile, with a gray and white countertop. The hodgepodge comes from all of this oil rub bronze accessories that's going with it. It doesn't really look good at all. So the only thing I had to do was switch out these knobs, switch out this faucet and this light fixture, and simply paint this trim around here. And now the gray and white actually flows, looks much brighter, newer, and refreshed. There you're going to see a couple examples of basically the same kind of thing here, that you can take what is really old and dated to make it really new for minimal investment. The example I really want to point out to you here is, have you ever seen these framed mirrors that are, they're mirrors framed with mirror? So there's, but it's very common for these to crack or get like kind of black goo underneath them. And it's impossible to to fix or clean without breaking the mirror. And when you don't have a high budget to actually replace this, you go to Home Depot and you buy trim, and you trim out the mirror, paint it to match, and voila, it looks brand new. Here's another example of just a facelift on a bathroom. This is your LVT that we put over the existing. You switch out these old little knobs for some elongated hardware to just make it look a little more upscale, add some new lighting and a new countertop and faucets, and bam, it's just a facelift. This bathroom was done completely with a new shower also. Here we were going to demo this tile. This is very dated. It's not very sought after anymore, this kind of ornate look to this bathroom here. So when we demoed this out, I simply just put some shiplap over it instead of doing all new drywall and a new vanity. Round mirror gives it kind of a nautical theme, and very little money spent there. Sorry for me in the picture there. When we have wallpaper, most of the wallpaper that was put up in the 70s and 80s is not today's styles and trends. I have wallpaper behind me, but this is a trendy wallpaper that we just put up like a year ago. So most of the time we have to take this wallpaper down, and some of the time we can just paint over the wallpaper. But here, in order to make this today's styles and trends, it literally was just a new vanity, new faucet, new mirror, new light fixture. And the total investment here was maybe $700 or $800. Especially when a house is getting all new paint on the inside anyway. To add the additional things is actually a minimal investment. Fireplaces. The trend today is to paint these brick and stone fireplaces. You've walked in a million houses and you've seen the fireplaces just painted over white. I am not a fan of painting and ruining these fireplaces. Sooner or later, the trend's going to come back to have the natural stone and brick, and there's absolutely zero way to save those fireplaces once they've been painted. A solution that I do when a fireplace looks old and kind of gross and dated like this is to basically you're regrouting it. This mortar that's here, this dark gray mortar, we actually have to go over it with a white grout to change that. And when you're wiping the grout down, it gives the rock or the brick, whatever you're doing, just a little bit of a whitewash. And the difference is like night and day. You add a nice mantle here and bam, you have a new fireplace without actually ruining the fabulous piece of, artwork that these fireplaces actually are. Again, paint is your best friend. Paint is so inexpensive. Well, it's actually gotten way more expensive since COVID, but it's the most least expensive way to transform something. This house was getting a full interior paint anyway. So when the painters asked me, do you want me to paint this the same color as the wall? I said, no, let's take the trim, the thick, shiny, glossy trim paint and keep it all the way through, which makes this fireplace just feel just nicer and more expensive. And this brown speckly granite that was the surround on the fireplace, we literally just painted it. Now you have to use a paint that is fire retardant. You can't just use the normal paint you would put on the walls. But when we painted this and added this white, it really transformed it into something that's kind of blah and dated to something really special. Now this one here, I took this after picture before this was actually finished, so don't pay attention to this. I had them fix that. That drove me crazy and it was a little dirty. But so we took this fireplace, which was actually a mess and nothing special and probably a detriment to the appeal of the house. We simply painted the entire thing and added some batten pieces, which are just pieces of wood, and painted over it. And now you have kind of an artwork focal piece in this room that is a design. And that is literally just paint and a couple pieces of wood. This project was completed in a day for just a few $100s. Again, on a fireplace, when you have this home, actually the kitchen had already been redone and it was a beautiful white and gray, everything super modern kitchen. And this room kind of connected to it. And they had this red and green and yellow tile here. And when they already had a $100,000 kitchen, and this house is about to go on the market for a couple of $100s, we demoed this and found a really cool modern blue and gray and white tile that coordinated with their kitchen. And this was a one-day project that really transformed the fireplace and made it really coordinate with the kitchen. Curb appeal, again, this is key. I've painted many brick houses. I've even showed you samples of it. This brick house to me did not need to be painted. It actually had some fantastic brick. The problem with this house was all this stucco trim and that the color did not complement it at all. So I simply had my painters come in and paint all this stucco trim an off-white color that would complement this brick, and then paint the doors black. And the difference between the two on the curb appeal when you're pulling up this house is night and day. This homeowner had actually said, oh yeah, we're going to paint the whole exterior of the house. And I stopped them and I said, do not spend that money. All we have to do is paint this trim to make this house beautiful and amazing. Now this house was getting a full interior paint. And if you see this, these are not actually coffered ceilings. This is just some trim work that actually made this look like a lattice ceiling kind of. And so to me, it wasn't really a selling feature of the house, being that it wasn't a true coffered ceiling. So I had them do the same thing that we did to that fireplace. I had them paint this whole ceiling, the thick trim, glossy white. Now this was just the first coat. This needed a second coat. Sometimes I jump the gun on taking my after pictures, but you see it kind of transforms this room and just made it feel a lot more elegant and upscale. This here, So I basically took these walls that were already a really cool neutral color that would have appealed to any buyer, but I wanted this room to be a statement room. It was not much special about this room at all. It did have a great board and batten wall, and so I took the glossy white, thick white glossy trim paint that this wall was painted and took it all the way around the room. So the walls actually now have the same paint as the trim, and so they were very bright white, and threw some black paint on the ceiling. And now the room is more of a wow, today's style and trim feature that it wasn't before. And this literally was 100% just paint. This room, now again, this is another one where I have to wrap myself out. This was not a seller's home, but the project was so amazing that I really love featuring it when I'm talking to people. This was the before here. This was a basement that just had like a little bed niche. And these people wanted this basement to be an adult space. They wanted it to be their game room, you know, and so we ripped this little kitty bed out and we put in a really cool wet bar. These clients loved blue. They wanted everything about this to be blue. And so we coordinated over here because they had the blue felt on the pool table over here, if you can see. And we did this really cool geometric wall with a ledge space for drinks that all kind of coordinated. And this literally was just batten pieces and blue paint over here. Feature walls, as I've already kind of showed you, is always a selling focal piece of a project. If we add something like this to a project, it actually is a huge help, whether it be a geometric wall, a batten wall, a wallpaper wall, or just an accent paint color. I love to spend money doing this kind of stuff so that the house stands out. And then staging accents. I love bookshelves and things like that. Most homeowners don't have, they display their own personal things, and any stager will tell you that we shouldn't display personal things. I have a whole inventory of this kind of stuff. These are actually shelves that I told the homeowner, can you empty your shelves out free and clear? We're going to paint them white, and then I'm going to add in some decor to make the house today's styles and trends. And so when we're actually painting bookshelves and making them nice and new, we need to make sure to feature them to make sure that they look nice and decorated like you would see on HGTV, as opposed to just the normal things that a homeowner would have. So what makes a move-in ready house with today's styles and trends? Obviously, we need to neutralize the property, and choosing the right paint colors is key. I would say most homeowners that I have experienced, when they choose a paint color, they really don't have a clue. And when it goes on the wall, it actually sometimes is a detriment to the house and its sellability as opposed to an asset. So making sure that we're choosing the right colors, neutralizing the house, and coordinating with the existing things like floor colors. Whether we put granite or quartz in, which one is going to bring us the most value? Woods, exteriors, making sure that tiles are statement pieces, and making sure that we have the right staging. It's my presentation.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I know I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know that everyone else took away some good information. We'll open the floor for questions. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, could you repeat all that?
I have one.
Go ahead.
So what do you do, Lisa, for those vanities that are really low, instead of having to rip them out and replace them with the taller bathroom vanities? Is there some way around to give it a facelift to add height to it without having to replace it?
The answer to that, unfortunately, is no. There's no way to pull those out and lift them up. And I don't recommend putting any kind of thicker countertop on it. We either just save it and hope that no one notices, or it's not a detriment, or we need to rip out the vanity and put new one in there. That has been a problem a lot lately, whereas sometimes when I want to spend a little bit of money, I have to actually end up spending more money because of those height problems. There is no way to fix that, really, unfortunately. Any other questions?
We had a question about basements. Can you touch on this in terms of value and finishing?
For basement,
Mm-hmm.
well, from a real estate perspective, a finished basement, sometimes just like a pool, doesn't net the same value back as to what you usually have to put into it to finish it, right? So most of the time when I come in and I'm trying to make the seller the most amount of money, I might recommend that we paint the basement along with the rest of the house. But as far as investing money into a basement, unless it's just really, really, really bad, I stay out of basements. Because what my job is to get the most bang for the buck in what we're investing in the house, and it's usually not in the basement.
I assume it's kitchen and primary bath.
Kitchen and bathroom, and then main living space. Those are the three. Again, as I showed you, lots of fireplaces. When we can put a wow factor into a main living space and then hit our master bathroom and our kitchen, that's where we're doing good. A lot of times on secondary bathrooms, I'll reglaze the tubs and stuff like that. Very, very rare do I ever invest a lot of money in a secondary bathroom. It obviously gets painted if we're doing a full interior paint. Sometimes I'll replace some faucets and things like that if they're really dated, but I put very little money into secondary bathrooms. But we can take any kind of colored tile and reglaze the whole thing white, and it's a refreshing. And a glaze on a secondary bathroom that's a tub tile shower combo is usually $400 or $500.
There was a question about how much you charge. I remember that there was a no charge introductory consultation, but a question about how much do you charge? And another one is, can you work in East Atlanta?
I call to Atlanta. I try to stay on the north side of I-20, which kind of, cuts the city in half. And I stay usually on the north side. I like to make sure I'm at least 45 minutes from the property when I'm doing one of these projects. I visit the property 2, 3, 4 times a week to make sure that everything is staying on task, on the timeline, that nothing's being done the way I want it to be done. So I'm really managing these projects as well as doing the design. So East Atlanta, sure, that's within 45 minutes of me. I'm located here in Alpharetta. And so I have done projects, I've done projects down by the airport where I was an hour and a half away for a special agent that I love. I don't like to do that, but, and then as far as my fee goes, my fee is based on the budget. So it's a percentage of the budget. And so when your client tells me what their budget is, or I may say, it looks like it's going to cost about $20,000 to really do what I want to do. Is that within your budget? My fee is already incorporated into that budget number. So when I've done the proposal budget, my fee is already a part of that. It's not in addition to that.
Built into the project, total project
Correct.
cost you present to the customer.
Correct.
Deborah is excited, as I was, about all the great work you've done and said, when can you come to my house? And I had the same thought.
Well, my phone number is on the screen, so feel free to call or text me. Again, I work on sellers' houses. That is probably 75% of my business, but as I've shown you, I have done many homeowners projects. I'm starting to where if an agent that works for my husband has a buyer who is buying a house and they're kind of afraid and they want to do renovations after they buy it, the agents are bringing me in at that stage too, to say, don't be afraid of this when you move in or before you move in. We can already have a crew here getting ready to do the renovation. So I started working a lot with buyers as well, doing their work too. So it's full service design and remodel, but I specialize in making sure that sellers are making all of the equity in the house and spending the least amount of money to gain the most amount of equity when they're selling the house.
Any other questions? If not, we'll wrap it up. Lisa, thanks again for joining us today. I know I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know everyone else did as well. As a reminder, we do record our Business Builder Speaker Series. We're going to make it look professional, add credits and opening and closing music. We'll post it on our YouTube channel so that you can go back and review it or share it with people another time. And we will send you a link with the YouTube once the video is edited and produced and ready for distribution. You'll get a copy of the Zoom link. Thank you again for coming today. And remember, the third Wednesday next month, we'll have a session on what you should know about mold and mold remediation in Georgia. And until then, all the best to you and your real estate ventures and real estate selling. And do keep Premier Design and Remodel in top of mind. And also Schaefertz and Dean, number of offices across Atlanta. We'd love to work with you on your closings. Thanks for joining us today and all the best to you. And we will see you next month.